Hey guys, what's up, Zax here. Today we are here with one of those videos. This is going to be talking about F1 2015, the game, and some ideas that I've had that are hopefully different to what other people have been talking about. So let's get into this and talk about, I think, one of the biggest problems with F1 games over the last 4 or 5 years, and that is the AI on the first lap of a race. Now, I have obviously experienced problems in other racing games with this sort of thing, but Formula 1 games seem to be down the list of ones that are actually good. This game, it frustrates me how slow the AI on the first lap are sometimes, especially when you have a tight turn one that's not too far off the start-finish line, like here in Austria. The AI just bunch up, they slow down, they crash into each other, and it really ruins the race, especially if you've had a bad qualifying. It just destroys your race if you get crashed into by one of them. But you can also just dive it down the inside of them, which is annoying to me as well, because I like to race realistically in realistic positions. I don't like to dive down the inside of people, but when there's a space, for example in career mode, you've got to take that because you need those points. And I honestly feel if you had better AI on the first lap of races, the championship would look so different at the end of the year. Especially if you look at my career mode, it's probably a good example actually. I do gain quite a lot of positions on the first lap, which actually helps me get into positions where I probably wouldn't be at. And I think that's a big thing they need to have changed for this next game. Even if they're like 5% better, it's still an improvement, and it's still something that really doesn't sort of improve the racing, because at the moment AI aren't exactly the most fun to race against. And I don't want to sit here and criticise F1 2014, because in all honesty I actually really do enjoy this game still, and I don't want to sit here bashing it because I think it's actually a really decent game. Maybe not the best racing game ever, but I still really do enjoy it. And but yeah, it's just one of the things that keeps going to my head every time I start a race. AI is so slow into the first turn, so slow over the first lap really, and that's just probably actually the most frustrating thing about this game really, F1 2014. It's just the AI, they're so slow on the first lap of races, and I really do hope that can change for F1 2015, obviously going to next gen. Hopefully they've got more room for improvement there. And next up, I honestly think we need to have a difficulty above Legendary or whatever it is at the moment, and one maybe not below, maybe not below the easiest one, but you know, I think we need to have 2 extra difficulties in there. I think that's what FIFA's done. I could be wrong, but I think FIFA's got a couple of extra difficulties in recent years, and I think the more difficulties you have, the better. And I think the difficulties need to be above and beyond Legendary or whatever it is, because I look at myself and I'm sort of equal with the Legend AI. I'm probably a little bit slower, but overall I can pretty much match them. And then you look at people, there are so much people that are better at F1 games than me, and they're not really getting challenged. So I honestly feel we need a difficulty better than the ones that we've already got. Not really for me, but for other people I think we probably need even just improved difficulties. So maybe Legendary is faster or something. I'm not too sure, but maybe that is something we need to look at for F1 2015, is difficulties maybe being tested a little bit further, and maybe getting some people like, you know, T McMurdoch, I don't know, Noble, X-Matty G, TRL Limitless. There's so many fast people that could be testing this game for them and finding the perfect difficulty. I think there's so much opportunity for them to do that, but I really, I'd like to see that. Better difficulties is something I'd definitely like to see in the next game. Next up, something that's been talked about for probably since F1 2010 was launched, is podium. We want to see a podium. Then at 2011, 2012 it was like formation lap, and I wouldn't mind having a podium, I'm not gonna lie. But over recent years, when they've sort of talked about maybe doing a formation lap and maybe doing a podium at some point, I've sort of gone off the formation lap thing. I honestly don't think that I would really enjoy that anymore. I mean, it would have been alright at some point, but maybe if it's an option, it's okay, but I don't think it needs to be their standard, because some people just don't care about that sort of thing. They just want to get to the race and do the racing. I don't care about doing the formation lap. So maybe if it's an option, the formation lap. But in terms of podiums, I think that's probably something they would like to add. It means it's like an actual nice reward for getting onto the top 3. You get to see yourself on the podium. Maybe even, I know it's maybe a bit too far into the future of Formula 1 games, but maybe even you could design your character like you can in like pro clubs in FIFA. Maybe design your character and you can actually see yourself on the podium. Maybe make it so you can look someone like yourself. Maybe make it look someone really weird. I don't know. Just make it so there's somebody on the podium that sort of signifies you in a way that's not just that standard AI person or whatever. It'd be nice to see that podium and also the character maybe modifications But I wouldn't like that to be a main thing of it. It took up a lot of space on the game, which is not needed. But just an idea. Maybe that character modifier, I don't even know. But you start off with like a base character, you can modify it, and I don't know whether it really come in useful or not. But that could also come in useful actually. If you had the paddock thing back from F1 2010 or F1 2011, you could see your driver walking around the paddock or something. Maybe you could control your person around the paddock. You could go and talk to interview people, talk to the team. I don't know, maybe that's getting too far into the future of Formula 1 games and what they can realistically do for this. But, you know, some ideas, that would be quite cool, wouldn't it? Maybe not for 2015, it's a bit too close to really be thinking like that if they haven't already. But, I don't know, maybe that's something maybe in the future games, I don't know. But, last thing I've got down here on the list is that, for example, if you start off with a team, you know, near the back of the grid, like a Marussia or a Caterham, if they are in F1 next year, and say you get to the end of the season and you haven't really got any points or anything, and overall the seasons look pretty bad for you, and I think something that you know, a lot of inspiration I could take from F1 Championship Edition, where you could get reserve driver roles at the end of the season or mid part of the season. I think they should have that in this game, because say you're in a Caterham Marussia, you don't want to be, you know, you can't really move up from it, for example, and you're like, well, I could go to maybe Lotus or Sauber or Toro Rosso, I don't know, as a reserve driver, and do some tests for them, do the Silverstone test, do the Yas Marina test, the Abu Dhabi test, I should say. At the end of the year, you can do them, maybe prove you're good enough at the end of the season, and you might be able to get a seat for the next season. Maybe that's something to do in the game, because some people just don't want to stick around with Caterham and Marussia if they're not good enough, and that's actually some progression instead of just sitting with the back teams forever in career mode. I don't know if anyone actually has that problem, but just an idea I've had down here on my notes. But yeah, some different ideas there. Hopefully you thought that was something cool, and maybe something different there that you would have liked in the game. But how many of these do I think actually could make it into the game? Well, definitely best AI can be in the game. Definitely more difficulties can be in the game. Podium pretty much definitely can be in the game. Reserve role, I think that can be in the game as well, but I think the character modifications and everything might be a bit too far in the future at this current time, but I think it would be cool. As FIFA has shown, it can produce funny moments when you see your very weird looking player on the screen or whatever. But yeah, that's it for this video. Once again, guys, hopefully you have enjoyed it. Hopefully it's been something different. And until next time, it's been Alex, and I'm out of here. Goodbye.